I'm so happy to feel the rage. Emotion is a power. And we know that what happened yesterday has emboldened the colonizers. It has emboldened the patriarchs. It has emboldened the capitalists. And it has emboldened white supremacy. Yes. This is what we are fighting. These beliefs and the violence that they perpetrate on all bodies. We must be clear. It has always been this way, and it will continue until we change it. That is what this fight is about. All of those people enact their power over our bodies through violence and exploitation and oppression. They are able to do that because we cooperate with that. Yep. Because they use fear. And they use that fear by killing people. And if you look at any movement in history where people have risen up, they have been killed. Indigenous people, black people, queer people, trans people. This is not a game. This is fucking real. We take our power back by refusing to cooperate with what they do. And that means we need a mass movement of non-cooperation. Say no mask, no more, fuck no. That means we have to look out for one another every single day and every single moment. And those of us with more privilege, with consent, need to block and stop it. We need to listen to the people who have been most impacted, who will know how to lead us out of this fight. With the white folks in this crowd, we have got to step up. And that might mean getting the hell out of the way and taking our families and our friends with us that have not woken up to what this means. So, today, we need to use our minds, our hearts, our bodies, and our spirits to do everything we can to disrupt business as usual in this space. I was in Texas when the Republicans tried to move that progressive legislation, HB2. And people in that state swarmed the building. It was the closest thing to an insurrection I've ever felt. We need that today.
Yep.
They need to hear us. So our plan is to be as much as we can inside, in as many places as we can be, and outside in as many places as we can be. But the way we're going to work this morning is we're going to hear a little bit of the legal stuff, because depending on where you are, the process might be different. The consequences will be different. But I have to say, whatever consequences we face today is nothing. It's nothing. So after we understand the legal terrain, we're going to be doing smaller huddles to let people know the different locations. You will choose where you want to be, and then we'll break out in those locations. We know that they might shut us down. It's all right, we got a lot of people out here. We have many people organized to step into their power to help flexibility is key, because wherever they shut us down, there's always that stop point. Like if they try and throw us out, we don't have to go. Once we decide where we're going, we'll group up and we'll finesse the plans and the contingencies. Does that all make sense? Yeah. Let me just think if there's anything else I need to read you. There's a lot more you would do in a training that we can't do right now, but we just have to trust each other and ourselves. We know that this fight is not about trying to get in altercations with people, but holding our space. And you know, a lot of this work around we can cooperate, but we can non-cooperate and still be respectful and dignified. And so, again, we'll talk about it. They try and forget us.
This man on the Supreme Court.
So let's be clear. This is our day. This is our building. Our house. Our lives. This is our future.
Hey Dave, this is Garner. Hey Kurt, this is Garner. Hey Kurt, I just took over for Mary. Am I on on the live view? Yes. Am I up? Can you see me? Okay.
Take action every fucking
Yes.
day.
Am I on Tel 1? Okay, because nobody was on the tower line, but I'm going to call in again.
Hi, everyone. This is fucking beautiful. I'm here to give some practical information. If you have trouble hearing me, there are less people on this side, so come to this side and you'll be able to hear. But I'm loud, so hopefully you can all hear me okay. First of all, we have a mass
Okay, so should I stay on Tel 1? Okay.
And you will get updates about schedules and what's happening and where to be when.
Is that spelled N-I?
Take out your phone.
Okay.
If you
I
can,
appreciate that.
and other people
Thank you.
If you don't,
No.
tell them. The number to text is 55222. The number to text is 55222. Text Women's Wave to that number. WOMENS WAVA. Women's Wave, all one word, lowercase, no spaces.
Okay.
Women's Wave.
Okay, great.
5522.
All right, that's all I got for you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Might not get a confirmation text. You're still signed up. We're setting this all up a little last minute because we're organizing quickly. Thank you. Right now, you're in the direct action training. If there are those of you here who are not planning on being direct action today, we need you here too. going to be able to answer all of them, but I will set up by that tree behind us right over there after the training, and I will try to answer as many questions as I can. Know that in general, arrests that happen on Capitol Hill are privileged arrests. This is not going through the system. This is not the same as going through the system under any other circumstances, any other place in this city or in America. There are a lot of you here today who have been arrested in the last month over Capitol. Who has been arrested?
As long as they know I'm out.
Protesting Kavanaugh.
Okay, Fred, I'll just wait for that call.
Year protesting family separation, Dream Act. Crowd, pay attention to who put their hands up because they can also answer your questions because they've been through it and they know. So, we have a few different action scenarios that are going to be happening today. We're going to talk about exactly what those scenarios are when we get into smaller groups, and then you can make some decisions about what action you might want to take. I'm just going to give some what-ifs. No matter what, if you are on this area, if you are in that building, if you are on the grounds here, you are going to be dealing with Capitol Police. They do this a lot. We've been keeping them busy. Woo! Chance took action outside of the Capitol building, perhaps on the steps of the Capitol, perhaps blocking doors. I don't know, lots of things could happen. If you are outside of the building, protesting somewhere where you don't have a permit to protest, which they don't really do for anywhere on the actual building, you will likely arrested by Capitol Police after being given 3 warnings. They don't always give 3 warnings. They don't have to, but they usually do. They make it clear where the arrestable area is. And it is likely that if you get arrested outside the building today, you will be released today. You will likely be offered something called a post and forfeit. This is basically turning your arrest into a ticket. You can pay, it's usually $50. You need exact change, you need cash. You have to pay it yourself. You cannot send a representative or a lawyer. They do not give change, they do not take cards or checks. You need to have on you your ID, your legal government ID, the kind of thing that would get you on a plane. A driver's license, a state-issued ID, a passport. If you have that, and you have $50 cash and you don't have any outstanding warrants or anything like that, you will likely get released today. Or tonight. It could be a long day. There's a lot of us. But you will most likely not see the inside of an actual jail cell, and you will be released today, and you will be kept with your comrades the entire time. It is an easy arrest. You will likely, I will say likely, have to come back tomorrow or within the next 2 weeks to pay that $50. You will likely not be able to pay it on site. There's a small chance that you might, so I encourage you, if you want to risk arrest in that manner, to have your $50 on you. But you will likely have to come back starting tomorrow morning or within the next 15 days to the Capitol Police headquarters, which is on 2nd and 3rd, just up there across from Union Station. We have a jail support team. When you get released from police custody, who are going to make sure that you know where to go.
but
Okay, so they're gonna go in there and get arrested. Now, that's gonna be what?
But also that
we got a bet over set.
Those first 3 or 4 days.
Jamie.
Hey!
This is Dupree. How are
Hey,
you?
bud. Hello.
Hey, how's it doing, producer? You come over here.
Of course.
This is Garney. Hey, Seth. Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. Okay. Yes, I can. Okay. Sounds good. Jamie, how you doing? Time to work. Time to work. Excuse me.
We will not forget. 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 We coming. November is 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 coming. November. We will not forget. 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 When children suffer, shut it down. 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 We vote next. 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 Nevertheless, Dr. Ford persisted. Nevertheless, the need of hell persisted. We will persist. 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 Survivors will persist. Survivors will persist. We will persist. We will persist. We believe survivors. 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 Shut it down. Shut it down.
Shut it down!
Shut it down.
Shut it down!
Men suffer.
Shut it down! 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 November is coming. 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 Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey, ho, ho!
We believe survivors!
We believe survivors!
We believe survivors!
We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors!
Come on, we are not organizers. We just thought it was too quiet and came up. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now.
We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then. We believe Christine now. We believe Anita then.
We believe Christine now.
We believe Anita then.
We believe Christine now.
We believe Anita then.
We believe Christine now.
We believe Anita then.
We believe Christine now.
Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! Get down! Women, we run this town! Get up! United can never be divided. The voices 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 united can never be divided.
The voices. Opportunity to offer a micro-open approach to anyone who wants to speak about your stories, any experiences you might have had, anyone who wants to come forward. The total safe space. All right. Well, the offer stands. The mic is to everyone. My name is Moy Sandarajan, and I'm here with Equality Labs. I want to say yesterday could have been something that lets us feel despair. But I also want to remind each and every one of you, we have seen the unprecedented over the last couple days. One of the things that I was so proud to be a part of is I was part of a delegation of survivors of all gender, of survivors of color, who when Mitch McConnell opened up the cloture vote, we made the decision to occupy his office. And when we occupied that office, we told him that you are the last gasp of white supremacy. So go on and enjoy it. You are the past, but we are the future. And when we took over that office, what we said was, no more rapists in power, and we do not consent. Do you agree?
sir. Sorry. Do you know what time the vote is?
All the solidarity that I see out there today. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Woo! Hey, my name's Liz Clyburn. I'm a student at American University. I'm not from here. I'm from New York City. It's great to see all of the allies out here that are coming out to support, and I know it's scary, and I know it's traumatizing, and I know it's difficult. But we're all out here, and we're all sharing our stories, and it's bringing us together. And whether or not Kavanaugh gets in, we'll go together. While I sat here first, it hasn't changed since the 60s. It's the same. From Anita Hill to now, Dr. Ford. Nothing has changed. There's never any sexual predator in office or in power.
Okay, so 11:05. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. I'm gonna set up for the 11:05, but I'll be with you anytime, sir. Yes. I'll be in front of the Supreme Court.
Quote unquote, religious.
Move them.
Right there, straight ahead.
Sorry, I guess we missed it.
Oh, there's.
Really? Where?
Standing right out in the front.
Where?
He's waving.
The video.
Bad kind of like interrupting them.
Women need to have a voice. Women need to have a voice. Women need to have a voice.
Thank you. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Shut it down! 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 If women suffer, 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 shut it down! If minorities suffer, shut it down! 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 My name is Hannah Rose. I am from the state of Colorado. And I have come 1,600 miles to talk to my Republican Senator, Cory Gardner. Cory Gardner. Yesterday, a group of 10 survivors from the state of Colorado tried twice to meet with Cory Gardner, and both times we were not listened to.
Shame!
He sat sobbing in his office, and he never ever met with us. So I want to say to Cory Gardner, in November, we will vote you out! We believe survivors! We believe survivors! We believe survivors!
Another instance of wondering if I had said no a little bit louder, if I had thought back a little harder, maybe something could have been different. I don't know if we can make a difference, but today we are here together, and that is what is important. And maybe today we won't win, maybe we will, but there are other battles in the future that we can. I want every survivor here to know it is never your fault, no matter what. And maybe today feels like another instance of your voice being ripped from your throat and your mouth covered. But I hear you. Someone hears you. And I believe you. I believe survivors, and I believe in survivors. I believe in our resilience, in our power, and in our ability to change the world. Protested before. I'm also a survivor. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah. And yesterday when I saw the senator from Maine's remarks, my heart sunk and I said, I can't anymore. I have to get up, I have to go. I can't complain on Facebook. I do that too. And I booked a flight and I'm here. And I haven't slept. I probably won't remember what I just said. But I believe you and I'm here with you and I have to go home tomorrow. But I'm not sleeping till the flight and I'll be here as long as it takes. Woo! In 4 weeks. Vote him out! 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 We have another incredible woman who is coming up, and I just want to say before we keep going, I want to welcome our sisters of color up. We have not had enough representation of you.
My name is Kirsten Buchholz. I'm 53 years old. When I was 8 years old, I was molested by New York Congressman Seymour Halpern. I did not tell anybody, either my parents, until I was an adult. And that's when I found out my sister was also molested by New York Congressman Seymour Halpern. We didn't tell until it was too late, and he was already dead. I'm living in Colorado now, and Cory Gardner is my senator, and he is voting for Kavanaugh. Shame! 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 My name is Andrea Watson, and I am also here from Colorado. I just moved back on Monday, but I said screw it and flew here anyway. I am mad at Cory Gardner. He left us waiting twice in his office, sobbing, shaking, screaming, and he will not listen. But know that after this is over,
regardless of what happens, survivors still need support. There is not enough money going to support survivors. When I was raped, I waited for days to feel better, and I didn't. And finally, I called someone and said, you know what, can I come to your facility and rehabilitate myself? And they said no, unless I was an alcoholic or a drug addict, I could not get funding. So remember, after this is all over, that we still need your help. Thank you.
I'm from the state of West Virginia, and yesterday my Senator Manchin hid behind College. I'm up here to tell Manchin that he was a swing vote, and what he did yesterday voted against me and voted against every woman that I know. I personally... just don't stand,
Get closer together!
Take a step forward.
Sir, move up onto the sidewalk.
Okay. When I first entered college...
Kavanaugh has got to go, hey, hey! Ho, ho! Kavanaugh has got to go, hey, hey! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no! Kavanaugh has got to go! Yes means yes, no means no!
Guys, can everyone take a step that way because the police keep coming back since people are on the sidewalks? Everyone can just move back so none of us get arrested. Yeah, I know. Well, it's been both. Okay. Which needs to scream. No one can hear you. Okay. I believe you, but we might not be able to hear you. When I first entered college, I had a guy rape me within a week. And I failed that semester at college. I could not leave my dorm. I didn't tell my grandma who was paying for it, but I'm telling Senator Manchin to please vote no. Woo!
Guys, we need all the camera people to step back. Come on, we're letting you record us. The least you can do, please, is some space. Thank you.
Okay. On September 27th, a mother of two, a professor, and one of the most courageous, intelligent, and strongest survivors raised her right hand and swore to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. And under oath, she said that Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her some 36 years ago. Facing several senators and an entire nation, she uttered the words, "I am here today, not because I want to be, but because I am terrified." She courageously testified to the event she could remember, the layout of the house, the floor plan of the room, the bed where it was located, how she was ambushed in the bathroom, her outfit, and the grim sea loss.
You do it. You got this.
Laughs of the boys that pinned her down to the bed. She even spoke about how norepinephrine and epinephrine encodes the hippocampus, aka she knew the facts. She was more than a credible witness, and to say that would diminish the impact of what she's done.
Speak right into the mic.
She's a hero to anyone that has been a victim of sexual assault. Got it. A pillar of light in our community, a beacon of hope, and an example of how to come forward courageously to speak your truth, the truth. She took the oath and swore to tell the truth, and she did it and illuminated this country. It's sickening to believe that this man could be appointed, but I'd be remiss if I say I wasn't surprised, because clearly one Supreme Court justice and a president already weren't enough. So rather than make today about those men or sit here and thank Jeff Flake for making a decision that should have never been an option, I want to thank the survivors for coming today, regardless of the fact that your country doesn't support you. And for the allies here today and the people supporting these women, thank you.
Guys, No, that's it.
Everything that we've seen in the past few days, the past few weeks has made me mad. But what really, really made me mad was that guy getting up there and saying he did not have any connections. I did not have grandparents who went to Yale College. My grandparents grew up in a mining town in West Virginia. An FDR program got them out to Buffalo, where there were jobs in the 50s. I got into Yale Law School because I had connections. You all are my connections. Yes, as a college student, I drank. And I was part of that horrible 80s party culture.
Hey, tell one.
But I woke up and I volunteered at a rape crisis center. And I got into Yale Law School. You guys were my connections. You women, you strong women like the woman from West Virginia who has come here to say that Joe Manchin is a traitor. You people who have come here to help others and to stand up for your rights. You men who have come here and admitted you're not perfect. All of us together. That's what counts. And the measure of success is not whether you get into a particular law school. It's not whether you deserve a seat on the Supreme Court. It's whether you recognize your privilege and want to extend it to others.
All right, I'm going to say it one more time. We want more representation, so this is absolutely open to anyone else who wants to come. Our sisters of color, you're always often marginalized from these conversations. You have a place here. Let's give them a round of applause.
My mom was sexually harassed when she worked in architecture 25 years ago. She was sexually harassed, so much so that she had to leave her job because they would tell her to wear shorter skirts and that they would grab her butt. I'm here for every single woman who has ever had to deal with that, because even if it's that small of a thing, it's important that we recognize that that's not fucking okay. And that if you continue to fucking do this in government, that we've elected you to represent us, that we will vote you out.
And I'm from San Francisco, California. This is my 4th trip to DC to protest Kavanaugh, and yesterday was my 6th arrest. And I want everybody to pay attention to my sign, and I want to speak directly to my white sisters. This mess is on us. 53% of us voted for Pussy Grabber in Chief. He was the preferred candidate of every group of white women except for millennial white women.
Preach!
We have to unite with our sisters of color. From time memorial, women of color have pleaded with us to recognize their humanity and to unite with them and to see that the patriarchy does not serve us.
I hear you.
White women do not be servile anymore to the patriarchy. We saw that yesterday with Susan Collins, with Cindy Hyde-Smith, and with Senator Caputo behind her. There's a reason why they were all three together in that scene. And I want to say to all the women in our country, when we unite, we make up 50%. When we add in men of color, then we are the majority, and there's nothing that can stop us. And that is exactly why white men have always tried to convince white women to unite with them and to be on their side and to oppress our sisters of color. This ends today. Thank you. Hey! Ho-ho! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, 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 hey! Okay! Let's go! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey! Okay! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey! Let's go! Okay! Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey! 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 All right, guys, we have someone else, and listen. The crowds all the way down there are with us. They might not be able to hear us, but pull out your phones, share these stories on social media. We got a bunch of cameras here. We got C-SPAN. Thank you, my brother. C-SPAN. Our voices are reaching every corner. Our voices are reaching every corner of the country. Do not be afraid to come up. We believe you. We hear you, and America will hear you, whether they like us.
Do your thing. Just hold it down and then scream as loud as you can. You got this. You got this. You got this.
We are 14 years old and we are here to fight. This is going to affect the rest of our lives. I am a victim. By voting Kavanaugh in, it is saying that sexual assault and rape is okay. And it is not.
Sex offenders!
We're
Just hold it. Do you want me to hold it for you? Alright, scream as loud as you can.
When I was a young child, I was molested, and my parents didn't believe me. So when I was 15 and my boyfriend raped me, I didn't think I could tell my parents. So when I was 19 and I was raped at gunpoint and blindfolded, I decided that if it ever happened again, I would report. So when I was 29 and I was raped by somebody that I knew, I went to the police and I reported him, and he confessed on tape, and I went with the police to help pinpoint him when he was arrested. He never spent a night in jail. I lost my job. I lost all of my friends. Even the women in my social circle came at me via social media and attacked me. This was 10 years ago. And I thought that even now, with the Me Too movement, things might have changed. But our representatives in the Senate GOP, the women representatives in the Senate GOP, stood up yesterday and proved to us that they still don't think that women's lives and women's bodies are worth protecting. And that is why I am here today. Because women's lives and women's bodies and women's souls matter. I am 40 years old and I still hurt. And every day, especially over the past 2 weeks, I have been sobbing. And my soul still is broken. And every one of us who is a survivor knows exactly what I am talking about. And everyone who has never gone through this does not and cannot understand. We need better. We deserve better. And our Congress is here to support citizens, not rich, elite, frat boys who think that they are entitled to a seat on the Supreme
because of the way that the boys are treating them every day. And this just goes to prove how bad it has come to be. I would like to ask everyone to vote on behalf of us on November 6th. It is so important to me. Thank you so much.
Can we give it up for Nate?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nate Tinbite. I'm a 16-year-old from Kavanaugh's home county, Montgomery County, Maryland. I'm here today because we need to make sure that our spineless politicians understand that we will be at the ballot box on November 6th. I wanted to emphasize that we are what's different. We are a new and unsettling force in American politics. And with morality on our side, with justice, we will rise from this moral political darkness. Thank you.
Can we give it up for him one more time? When women are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When women are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When women of color are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When young women are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When indigenous women are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When lower income women are under attack, what
name is Lisa Friday, and I'm a transgender woman. I had 30 years of living with white male privilege, and I gave that shit up. Today I stand here with you as a transgender woman. There is no space in America created for me as a transgender person, so I create my own space. For people who've come before me, I have health care now, I have a job now, I have employment now. We have a long ways to go. This is a step backwards. Way backwards. So I say to you as trans women, as cis women, as whoever the fuck you are as a human being, take your space today. And when they roll by, say you get out of the street, say fuck you, I'll stand in the street if I want to.
We need all the representation possible. If you want your voice to be heard, feel free to come up. This isn't planned. Come on up. Sorry.
We will not go back. 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 We will not go back.
You guys are some of the strongest people, and you deserve more. You deserve more than what you're getting. And they are putting up Brett Kavanaugh to push you back. It's because we are uniting, and we are speaking up, and we are making progress, that they have elected him, or whatever you're gonna say, nominated him to this position. I've been knocked down so many times, and every time I get up, I get stronger. This is not a setback. This is another chance for us to get stronger.
Women suffer.
Shut it down!
Women suffer.
Shut it down!
Women suffer.
Shut it down!
Women suffer.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Women suffer.
Shut it down!
People suffer.
Shut it down!
People suffer.
Shut it down!
People suffer.
Shut it down!
I was raped when I was 17. And I have a hard time talking, but I wrote something yesterday, and it's easier if I read, so. I'm sitting on this plane.
Listen up, please.
About the privilege that allows me to be here. I have physical, economic, and emotional privilege that so many humans do not. I can decide at 9:45 a.m. that I need to be on a plane, and I have all the necessary resources to make that happen. I have job security and control of my schedule. I have money to pay for it. I have a husband who responds to my declaration that I might need to do this with. Whatever you need, I will help you. There was not a single hurdle in my path trying to trip me up. I have no asshole boss who can control my life. I don't have to choose between a plane ticket and feeding my family. I don't have to fight for my right to exist in my own house. So I thought, if I'm not using my hurdle-free path to clear the way for the people behind me, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Having privilege means you can easily perform a task that would be harmful or difficult to others.
Moving through the crosswalk and up onto the sidewalk, not stop in the street.
We will stand in the sidewalk and speak. Woo! privilege means you can easily perform a task that would be harmful or difficult to others. This is a universal truth that spans many subjects. There are men in this world who would either harm me or simply disregard my words if I tried to speak to them. So men who are less likely to be harmed and more likely to be listened to should speak for me. I have very little to fear from police officers and our justice system in general. They're not going to draw their guns on me or beat the crap out of me for no reason. That is a legitimate fear for so many other humans. So if someone needs to speak to the police, I will step forward. When your ingrained shield is bigger than other people's, you should stand in front of them.
You know the winds are changing when we have all these incredible white women of privilege speaking about how they're going to use their privilege to help their disprivileged women. So shout out to you all. Thank you. I'm really nervous. I'm a DC student. And when I was 13 years old, I was sexually assaulted in the hallways of my school. And like so many other girls, this continues to happen. And people watched it happen. Boys and girls made fun of me, and that is not okay. It's not okay. We need to look back in the past and heal those people that have gone through so much, but we also need to look into the future because boys and men will not change if we have people like Kavanaugh and Trump and other white privileged men in our government. Thank you. My heart is literally burning with fury, and we need to vote no. Guys, if anyone was on the sidewalk, if you could just step in so that we could continue and not get shut down. Would anyone else like to come up? Please do. Both of you. Let's go. Yes, anyone who wants to come up. We are not organizers. We're literally just demonstrators with a megaphone. So you are more than welcome. This is your rally as much as it is ours.
Hi, my name is Ali. I'm a student at American University. So I just had a few things I would like to say.
Speak right into the mic, right up.
Women aren't just daughters, sisters, and mothers. We are humans. Why does it have to be reminded? Also, since when was boys will be boys a valid excuse? What kind of bullshit is that? And as my queen Janelle Monáe says, this pussy grabs back.
My name is Sarah Salisbury, and George Soros did not make my sign. I made it on the bus this morning. I took the red eye here last night from Northern California. I have not eaten or slept, and I'm very punchy. But I just want to say I really appreciate seeing so many of our brothers here today. These beautiful woke men. I just want to give a shout out to you because I know it takes a lot of courage to come out in the midst and just be here with us as our allies in the midst of all of our female rage. We know you've got our backs and we love you. Thank you so much. And I also just want to say that I really debated coming because I'm just one person, but I feel like the GOP right now is a massive infection at the heart of our country. And each one of us is a tiny but powerful white blood cell. And every single person here today is making a difference. We're all fighting that infection. It matters that each of us are here. I really believe that. And I'm so grateful to be with a bunch of other pissed off people. I've just been going around yelling at people who I shouldn't be yelling at and bursting at the seams, and it feels so good to just come and be with you and shout our righteous rage together, all of us together. We're so strong, and we are going to move we're going to move this stone. I swear to God, we're going to make it happen. If not today, in November, God damn it. All right, we have a brother who wants to come up. Vote them out! 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 Vote them out!
I have seen. Speak right to the mic, right up to your mouth. I have seen the civil rights movement. I have seen the early women's rights movement. I have seen John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. The message I want to convey is no one is free unless we are all free. So thank all of you for what you are doing today. I am more hopeful now than I ever have been. Thank you.
If the cameras can make sure you get the interpreter, so that our deaf sisters can know what's going on as well. Can we give it up for our next sister? Hi, my name is Jillian and I'm from New Jersey. I'm a student here at AU. This past spring, a boy filmed me having sex with him without my consent. It took me weeks to speak up. I had friends, who are obviously no longer my friends, tell me that I shouldn't say anything because he was a D1 athlete that could get a full ride to his school.
Come on. Those aren't real friends.
They are not. I had a guidance counselor tell me not to say anything because I lived in a small town, and by the following weekend, people would be talking about it.
Bullshit.
I am here today to speak up and make sure that the Brock Turners do not turn into Brett Kavanaugh. I am here because I no longer want to be silenced. Thank you. We believe you! 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 Is there anyone else? Oh. Who do we believe? Survivors! Everybody! Anita Hill! Who do we believe? Anita Hill! Who do we believe? Anita Ford! Who do we believe? Anita Hill! Who do we believe? Justin Ford! Who do we believe? Anita Hill! Who do we believe? Justin Ford! Who do we believe? Anita Hill! Who do we believe? Justin Ford! Who do we believe? Anita Hill! Who do we believe? Justin Ford! Hell yeah! We believe Anita then! We believe Christine now! 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 We believe Anita then! Hi, my name is Catherine, and I, like all of my Northern California sisters, decided Thursday night that I absolutely had to be here, that this was my civic duty, the same as it was for Dr. Ford. And thank goodness for an amazing husband and amazing friends and being self-employed and all of the privileges that I had, I was able to get on a plane and be here with you all today. One of
the other privileges I have is that I have not been assaulted. And I can't imagine how hard these last 2 weeks have been for those of you who have. Friends who haven't been able to get out of bed, to function in this world. And so I'm going to use my privilege today to tell one of those stories. A friend of mine who is still silent and really wants to have all of the catharsis of the Me Too movement, but still can't share her story. To give answer to the question of why didn't she say something? Why are we only hearing about this 36 years later? Here's why. These accusations are from years ago. Why didn't she say anything before now? I can't speak for other victims, but I can tell you why, even now, I'm afraid to come forward. My uncle abused me starting the summer before I entered 2nd grade. The abuse continued for nearly 10 years. I didn't tell anyone the first time it happened because he told me not to. He said it would be our little secret. Cliché, I know. I've kept our little secret for nearly 40 years. For a long time, I felt complicit. I didn't tell, therefore it was my fault. As an adult, I understand that isn't true. I was a child, it couldn't have been my fault. Now I have different concerns. My abuser has a wife and 3 kids. They are, I presume, ignorant of his actions. If I were to finally admit what he did to me all of those years, I fear the effect that my disclosure would have on their lives. Can you imagine learning that your father or your husband had sexually abused his niece? I can't do that to them. The shockwave wouldn't stop there. My parents believe they did a decent job keeping their children safe. They would learn that they literally paid my abuser to babysit me. I'm protecting my parents from that realization. Finally, I'm protecting myself. I see how victims are treated. I have seen children as young as 11 years old described as a little promiscuous. I am 100% certain that I would not be believed and that my motives would be questioned. For me, that's a cruel irony. I've kept a shameful secret for 4 decades, and if I were to finally come out, I'd be accused of seeking attention. The last thing I want is that kind of attention. I believe that I am resilient and that I have gotten over what happened to me so many years ago. I have a wonderful life with a supportive husband and an excellent therapist. I'm okay, except even now, not a day goes by that I don't think about what happened. Especially now, this was a long time ago, with sexual assault in the news and an admitted abuser in the White House, my abuse is always top of mind. I think I'm okay. Except there was the time I was called for jury duty. I was placed on a panel for a childhood sexual assault case. As I waited my turn to be questioned, I practiced my speech. I was sexually abused by my uncle, so I don't think I can be impartial. I was fine all day until it was my turn on the stand. I calmly answered all of the questions put to me until they asked if I, or anyone I knew, had ever been sexually assaulted. My throat closed up. I literally could not speak. I tried to answer, and I tried to fight back the tears, but it was useless. The bailiff helped me off the stand, got me some tissues, and pointed me to the exit. It troubles me that I couldn't speak then. I'm frustrated that I can't speak now. I cannot come out, I cannot tell my story, and I'm not alone. Even now, even after this victory of Me Too being the People of the Year in the magazine last year, have so many people, men and women, have so many reasons why we do not feel safe enough to come forward. Please remember us today. Remember that this work is not done. Remember that if you don't know anyone in your family who has been assaulted, it most likely means that someone is protecting you from the truth. We hope that others who are still silent, and let's get the hashtag still silent going, can find allies to help them safely share their truths. That was written last November. Now I have to add one more piece. How can women not be able to serve on juries because they would be biased as survivors of assault while we let assaulters sit on the Supreme Court?
am from Delaware. And I go to American University. And I first want to say, being from Delaware, that fuck your beach houses where you go to hide. We real Delawareans, including our senators, don't associate with them. But most importantly, I'm an immigrant. I am Indian. I am a first generation. I am so saddened by the Indian stigma that disheartens the thousands of women who can't speak out because of what the Indian community will do to them. Fuck the tradition. Put women in power. I'm here to be the first in my family to receive an education. And I feel that much stronger because of a community like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Stephanie. I am Jewish. I have never met George Soros in my life. Oh, God.
You got this!
I'm a sexual assault survivor. I'm an abuse survivor. I didn't report. Those first two sentences, I've never said those words out loud to my family. I come from a place of obscene privilege. There have been a few sisters up here who spoke about this earlier, and I just want to echo that sentiment 100%. And here's the rub. The way that privilege stays in place is by telling women like me and telling women like you that our pain doesn't matter as much as keeping things comfortable and keeping those systems of power in place. Fuck that! Look, if you are standing here in privilege, you must use that. I'm not oblivious to that. But your privilege does not make that pain less real. If we're being honest, I don't know if I believe that for myself, so I'm just gonna say it for everyone here. I believe you. Okay, cool. My name is Alexis Koba. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I drove... Detroit! All right, I drove here 9 hours yesterday because I feel so strongly about this. I graduated law school this past May, and I applied to take the bar in the state of Michigan. And like every other person who applies to take the bar in the state of Michigan, I had to apply to character and fitness. I had to prove my good moral character to practice law by clear and convincing evidence. I was investigated for months. They looked at my social media. They looked at every single address I have lived in my life. Where is Brett Kavanaugh's investigation? Could Brett Kavanaugh prove his good moral character by clear and convincing evidence? No. I don't think so. Kavanaugh has got to go.
women who face police brutality and murder. I'm here in solidarity with trans women of color who are murdered at an obscene rate. I'm here in solidarity with LGBT people who face targeted violence in this country. I'm in solidarity with women and those with wombs who deserve bodily autonomy and safe, legal, and free abortions on demand. I'm here in solidarity with immigrants, documented and undocumented. I'm here in solidarity with Latinx children and families in concentration camps in the deserts of the U.S., an illegal and violent occupation of Turtle Island. I'm here in solidarity with white women who, as we see, also experience sexual assaults at an alarming rate. I'm here in solidarity with my sisters in prison who literally provide slave labor while companies reap in the profits for their labor. I'm here in solidarity with women in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, and Palestine who we bomb and occupy. Directly or indirectly. War disproportionately affects women and girls where sexual assault is wielded as a weapon by the occupying army against them. I'm here in solidarity with Muslim Rohingya women, over 50% of whom have been sexually assaulted by the Burmese military and police, and whose babies and families have been murdered in front of their eyes. I'm here in solidarity with refugees who cross borders, fleeing for their lives, saving their families and children, whether they are crossing from Syria to Turkey, Burma to Bangladesh, or Mexico to the U.S. These refugees are heroes and should be welcomed by all people of conscience. I'm here in solidarity with poor and working class women who are sexually harassed and abused in the workplace by bosses and management who couldn't care less about them, who coerce them into silence. I'm here in solidarity with men and boys who are told they are not allowed to cry or show emotion. I believe survivors. All survivors. And I stand firmly with them. I stand with the people in direct opposition to the unelected, undemocratic, and backward Supreme Court. In opposition to the unelected government with a rapist as president. Republican and Democratic politicians do not represent us. They are not held truly accountable. They line their pockets with money from weapons manufacturers, prison industries, and have relationships with despotic and backward states such as Israel, India, and Saudi Arabia. Siblings, the ruling class of the world is united against the working class of the world. We must unite. It is our duty to fight. It is our duty to win. I salute all survivors here. And I am humbled by your courage in the face of extremist violence by the patriarchal capitalist state. I call on my siblings to go on strike. This country runs on the working class and it can be stopped by us. It is not us who should be afraid of them. It is them who should be afraid of us. My siblings, we are unstoppable.
Yeah, we are!
Another world is possible.
Another world is possible. We are unstoppable. 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 Another world.
We have another sister who's going to share her story. I
by saying that I am actually 40 years old, and I feel that's relevant because I like to believe that 10 years later my story might have been a little different. I am also a lesbian, which is something that it's a lot easier to be now than it used to be. I didn't realize I was a lesbian until I was 31 years old, and I paid a therapist to convince me that the question, "What do you want?" is a valid question. Before that, when I was 16, I fell into a relationship with a boy who was very aggressive and coercive, and because I did not know that what I wanted mattered, I let him coerce me into things for 3 years. And, you know, I moved on, and I eventually figured out what it was I actually wanted. And despite that, just a couple years ago, a very close male friend of mine suddenly decided that he felt that the friend zone was a real thing. And his leaving triggered every threat that boyfriend had made about leaving me. Every time he cried and got angry at me, just the way Brett Kavanaugh did, sitting on that stand, crying and being angry because what he wanted, he could not have. When that friend left me with a sick ferret and 6 months on a lease, I became suicidal. I became frankly suicidal because I believed that my life would never be free from the desires of the almighty cis penis. But no, I got through that with a lot of help from some very strong women in my life and a few men. And so now I am here, and I want you all to know that what you want matters. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. And just because someone may now present as LGBT, that does not mean that they were safe. That does not mean that they didn't spend 3 years thinking that sex that you're crying during is okay, because that's what he wanted. So what you want matters. Believe that.
Hello, my name is Jessica. Shout! I'm from the great state of Texas. And I just wanted to put it out there that if my senators, Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, think that they're representing all Texans by excluding people who have experienced sexual assault and voting Kavanaugh in, they're incorrect, and we will vote them out.
Vote them out! 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 Vote them out!
Guys, what?
Vote them out!
We're gonna take last calls for anyone who wants to come up over the next 10 minutes or so please just come up to the front. Like we said, this is a safe space, even though it might not feel like it. So anyone who's welcome, we have already 3 people, but please do come up.
No liars on the court. Precedent matters. 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 No liars on the court.
Hi, my name is Zentia. I am a survivor of sexual assault and sexual abuse. I am also have been previewed to those elite schools and the parties that go on. And unfortunately, the story that Christina Ford told, I've seen many times. And none of them speak up, none of the women speak up because it's a thing. And I'm tired of that thing. I've spent years, I felt like in a box not knowing what to do, feeling so helpless because all these men have walked around without any consequence while I bared the burden. And this movement has given me the most hope that I've ever had. I am a mom of 6
women, and I want my daughter to be in a place, in a world where she can speak up, where my sons know that it is wrong, that it is not okay. I'm deeply concerned that they are turning this into something normal. It is not normal under any circumstances. I'm happy that we're all here and that I could share this with you. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'll be honest, I'm a privileged white male. And part of my privilege is that I get the opportunity to live in a wonderful county called Montgomery County, where Brett Kavanaugh is from. During his second day of hearings, he said that it was a city filled with drug violence, gang violence. The only violence I've heard about in Montgomery County is the violence he's accused of. And to all the people who are saying boys will be boys, I want to say, how dare you? How dare you project your evil onto all of us? Men are not inherently evil. Nobody is.
Hi, my name is Tony Thayer, and I'm here from Cleveland, Ohio. I was sexually assaulted by my own father when I was a small child. So many women in my life, in my world, have been sexually assaulted, and I am here in solidarity with them and with all of you. I also am the fourth generation of women in my family to work actively for women's rights, for women's health, and for abortion rights. And I am here today to carry on the legacy of my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother. I am also a teacher of young women and trans men. And I am a mother, and I am here for those people and all of the young people who are coming after me, who are going to have to live with the consequences of a Supreme Court that is dominated by wrong thinking and rapists.
Thank you.
As an Ohioan, I have two senators in Ohio. One of them is going to vote no today, Sherrod Brown, and I'm here to thank him. My other senator, Rob Portman, happily introduced Brett Kavanaugh to the Senate Judiciary Committee and continues to support him to this day.
Vote him out! 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 Vote him out!
Thank you, we will. When I decided to come here, I couldn't not come here, and I asked the women in my community what they wanted me to bring with me, because I am here representing hundreds and thousands of women in Ohio who would be here if they could. And the women who spoke to me, most of them came to me in tears, or they messaged me and they said, I have no words. My grief and my rage and my pain are beyond expression. So I am here to speak for them. I did have a couple of women say very specific things. My friend Nina said, could you please say, fuck you, Mitch McConnell. Fuck you, Chuck Grassley. And I'll add, fuck you, Susan Collins. And my friend Marcy said, you are wrong, and in the long run, you will lose. We are the future.
We are the future. We are the future. We are the future. We are the future. We are the future. We are the future. We are the future. We are the future.
I don't have my own story. I was just in my dorm one day at the University of Maryland College Park, and I turned on the news, and I followed the hearing, and I cried listening to Dr. Ford.
And then I watched Kavanaugh do everything that I was raised not to do. Not to raise my voice at authority and not to cut other people off. Not to get emotional and anger and upset. And I was shaken to my core with anger watching about how my government operates when I turn my back, when I'm not paying attention. And so I'm here to hold the government accountable when no one else will. And I can't wait to vote and change and be involved so this doesn't happen and to protect our future.
November 6th is coming! 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 November 6th is coming!
My name is Annie and I'm from Maine. And I just want to say, fuck Susan Collins. She's not only let down my state, my people, and my country, she's destroyed everything that I believed about what women in politics can do, what they can achieve. And she disappointed every single woman who's been assaulted by a man of power or a man that they trusted. Women like my mother. Speak up! She was sexually assaulted by her father.
Got it!
Love you! She believed she couldn't speak out because she lived in a house of men. She lived for 16 years being assaulted by the same man. But she still couldn't speak out once she left. She was abused by my father, beaten, raped, and thrown out of a moving car. She had the strength to leave him when she couldn't find her voice. I'm here to be her voice.
So I don't know what the chances of this are, but my name is Annie, and I'm also from Maine. And I'm also here to say, fuck Susan Collins. We will be voting no. It's a disappointment to all Mainers. I want to thank Angus King for voting no on Kavanaugh. We need more men like him in Maine and across the country. We will also be getting LePage out because he is an awful human being. He was Trump before Trump was Trump. We want him gone. This is not who we are. We're going to work 2018, 2020. This is happening. Maine is with you all. We are sorry. This is not who we are. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Garrett, and thank you. I actually flew here from Iowa to speak today. And I don't know if my position has been presented much today. I'm actually a white male registered Republican. I also am an attorney and a military veteran, but I flew all the way here to speak directly to my senators to vote no on Brett And I want to look at the camera and I want to tell them why. I have heard the main arguments to vote for him is that there is innocence until proven guilty, and that you have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But that's in a criminal proceeding. When the government is going to take your rights. But this isn't a criminal proceeding, it's a job interview. And we're not talking about taking Brett Kavanaugh's freedom away. We're talking about him overseeing our freedom for the next. And the position in that court is way too important to have someone like that overseeing our freedoms. And the second biggest argument that I've heard which is insane to me, is that this would be a slippery slope, that all of a sudden all these people would come forward and that men would feel terrified of you women coming forward and accusing us of stuff. We need to have women feel comfortable to come forward. As good men of this country, we need to protect women and encourage them to come forward. So thank you very much. In our generation, women, we will band together and we will make change.
The Trumpaphone is here.
The Trumpaphone is here.
Full radius, baby.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm from New York. And I just want to say to everyone here, we believe you, we hear you, and we see you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who has spoken today for your bravery and your courage. I want to say that Black Lives Matter, Women's Lives Matter, and women's rights matter. So I came to DC to participate in Stop Kavanaugh demonstrations. If our elected officials won't listen to the American people, we'll make them. If they continue to act selfishly with only their best interest in mind, we'll remind them that the power is in our hands. American people deserve better than this nomination, and survivors deserve better than this nomination. History depends on us. But the work can't stop today. If you can go to a rally, vigil, demonstration, wherever you're from, go. Make sure your friends are registered to vote. Make sure you are registered to vote. Please vote. We are stronger in numbers. I hope that our elected officials have heard the American people this week and that they will continue to hear us over the next few months. At the end of the day, we just want to be heard. Please be the change that you want to see. Protest, organize, occupy, walk out, resist, strike, shut it down, and vote. Power to the people!
We are the majority! The majority dissents! 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 We are the majority!
Hi everyone. Better? Okay, all right. So I was sitting at my desk watching the hearings and watching Christine and then watching Kavanaugh. And when I was watching the commercial breaks on CNN, I was seeing all the questions that were arising about how she could forget certain aspects and how she couldn't remember every single detail. Well, I'm here to back her up because I'm the same way. I was sexually assaulted 5 or 6 years ago. I don't exactly remember which year. I was in a basement. I'm unable to recall the date, but it was cold outside. I was wearing jeans, a dark green long sleeve shirt, and that hung off my shoulder, and a North Face jacket. I could not tell you everyone that was there that night, although I am sure it was no more than 10 people. None of them could corroborate my story, not even my longtime friend who I went with. I never disclosed to her because I was ashamed. I'm not the kind of person that likes to be seen as weak, and if any man met me today from work, they'd be like, how the heck did any guy ever get near her without her permission? I drove and I could still not tell you what town it was in or what address my friends were directing me, or how by the grace of the universe I figured out how to drive myself home. But I could tell you the name of the boy that assaulted me, I'm 100% sure. I could tell you every word he said. I could tell you how it felt to have my voice crack while saying no. I could describe the smell of his hand covering my mouth. I can feel the static of my hair, of the friction of my head shaking no. I could describe every second of the assault until I broke free and ran out of that house. I never saw him again.
I'm certain he never thinks about it, and I'm certain I will never get over it. I'm 100% sure.
We believe you! We believe you! We believe you! We believe you! We believe you!
6 months ago, I became a survivor. 6 months ago, I became a survivor and my life fell apart. I lost who I was. The person that I was is dead now. She is no longer with us. I am a new person and I am born of rage. I am born of anger and anguish and betrayal and bitterness. Nobody who isn't a survivor can understand the feeling, this feeling that takes over your entire body, your soul which is now missing. What happens when you become a survivor? These men sitting in office, they have no fucking idea. They have no fucking idea. How dare they vote when they have no idea what it's like to experience pain like this? I wonder to myself late at night if my ex-boyfriend who assaulted me after dating for 5 years, if I will have to testify against him like this when he goes into the government. Will I have to testify and will people believe me? Yes. Will they believe me? Because people are not believing her. And it is despicable. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of not being able to go online because I'm afraid of being triggered. I'm tired of not being able to watch TV because I'm afraid of being triggered. I'm afraid of living in a tiny, tiny box because everything is triggering me because men will never understand. I'm tired. And we need change. We need change. Believe her, believe me. Woo!
My name's Rhiannon and I'm a survivor. I was in denial about it forever. I thought that the man that was my colleague, my coworker, who had been by my side, was my friend. And I thought that night when I had too much to drink and I couldn't stand up, that when we were getting in the cab, he was taking me home to be safe. And when I woke up the next morning and I couldn't remember anything, and I was naked, and I was sore, and there was a condom on the floor, that somehow it was my fault. And I worked by his side for years and made excuses. And I never told anyone, not our HR department. And when I finally did, I was asked why. It was all about me. Why did not I do X? Why did I not do Y? Why did I not do Z? Why did he rape me when I couldn't stand up, when I was basically unconscious? What the actual fuck? And I didn't tell anybody. And when I did, my friends and my colleagues remained his friend. And I stayed silent forever, and this is like literally the first time I've like told more than 2 people at once, and I feel like I'm about to fall over. Tim, if you're out there, fuck you! I'm still here! I got the full-time job, motherfucker! You did not beat me. You did not take anything away from me. I am still here, and I am here for all of those of you who are quiet, who are silent, who still think it's your fault, who still work next to your rapist, or is your family's your rapist, or whatever the fucked up fuck shit's going on. I'm here for you, and I love you, and I believe you, no matter where you are, no matter how quiet you are, no matter who knows.
I love you, C-SPAN! Woo!
I am here for Asian American women and queer women who are victims of sexual violence, who are silenced and ignored. I believe you. I was sexually coerced by someone who felt entitled to my body, and though I was not a perfect victim, my pain is real. Our pain is real, and it should matter.
I am here today for my sister who was raped by a friend. I am here today for my mother who was raped by a date. I am here today because I feel like there is nothing else I can do. As a resident of Washington, D.C., I have no vote. As a queer woman, I have no voice, at least not as far as this administration is concerned. All I have is my mind. All I have is my body. So I will use my body to fight this. I will occupy this space with my body until I am forcibly removed. We must listen to survivors. Those were Senator Collins' words, spoken immediately after going to great lengths to discredit a survivor who she refuses to listen to. We must listen to survivors, she says, immediately before taking action to empower Dr. Ford's abuser with one of the highest honors this nation has to offer. Shame! 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 We now live in a country where you can be arrested for a comparatively minor crime, and if you're convicted, and especially if you are black or brown or queer, for the rest of your life, you can be denied your right to vote. You can be denied your right to work. You can be denied your right to a roof over your head. But if you sexually assault multiple people, ruin multiple lives, well, you can serve as a justice on the Supreme Court. You can serve as President of the United States. We must listen to survivors, she says. How dare you? How dare you say those words when by your actions you condemn the rights of survivors for a generation to come? You do not get to pretend to be an ally if you do not stand by it.
Just released a statement, so I thought I should read it so we all know.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
35 years ago, the other students in the room chose to laugh and look the other way as sexual violence was perpetrated on me by Brett Kavanaugh. As I watch many of the senators speak and vote on the floor of the Senate, I feel like I'm right back at Yale where half of the room is laughing and looking the other way. Only this time, instead of drunk college kids, it is U.S. senators who are deliberately ignoring his behavior. This is how victims are isolated and silenced. But I do have corroborating witnesses speaking for me, although they were not allowed to speak to the FBI. And I feel extremely grateful for them and for the overwhelming amount of support that I have received and continue to receive during this extremely difficult and painful time. There may be people with power who are looking the other way, but there are millions more who are standing together, speaking up about personal experience of sexual violence and taking action to support survivors. This is truly a collective moment of survivors and allies standing together. Thank you for hearing me, seeing me, and believing me. I am grateful for each and every one of you. We will not be silenced. We stand in truth and light. Deborah Ramirez. We believe you, Deborah Ramirez!
I wasn't going to speak, but no one else has come up. I've told this story many times because I've been in the rape justice movement for over 20 years. I've been a rape healing group leader. I've been to many rape trials with other survivors to support them. But my rape story started when I was 5 years old, 48 years ago, with a babysitter that we had.
You got this. Thank you.
We believe you. And he repeatedly raped me over about 1.5 years' time. He ruined me for years. I'm 53 years old and I've struggled with PTSD my entire life. And I consider myself an incredibly strong person. I've devoted my life to helping others heal, because through helping others heal, we can heal. We all need to heal here today, but we also need to keep this rage up. I was here when Anita Hill was testifying, and now it's happening again. And this can't happen anymore. This has to stop. This president doesn't belong in the White House. He belongs in the big house. He raped a 13-year-old girl. He's destroyed her life. He's destroyed the lives of 18 or I don't know how many other women. This man who's up for the Supreme Court, we don't know how many lives he's destroyed, because I'm sure a lot of the women he's done things to now are terrified to come forward. But we all need to tell our stories. The LGBTQ movement moved forward when they broke their closet doors down. We need to break out of our secrets and tell them, tell everyone we can. People need to know that rape survivors are all around you. And I just want to end by saying a few statistics. 1 in 3 women worldwide are victims of violence. This is a global pandemic of violence. This isn't just in the United States. But in the United States, every 98 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted. Every 8 minutes, a child under 18 is sexually assaulted. Rape and sexual assault are convicted, and the perpetrators go to prison. 2% of every 1,000 rapes. 2. Or no, it's 6. I'm sorry, but it's 2%.
Yes. Wait, 6 of every 1,000?
6 of every 1,000. Thank you.
I'm emotional.
I'm emotional. Yeah. Rape is also punished the least of all violent crimes. Rape is the only crime wherein the rape kit which is the forensic evidence that the survivor or the victim of the crime has to pay for her own kit in 31 states. Rapists have access to their rape babies, if the woman has a baby from the rape, in 31 states. Anyway, I'm going to go and let someone else speak, but we all need to come out and tell our secrets. We all need to tell everyone we can so that people can see us. We are not invisible anymore. No more of this. I'm never coming back for this. No. We're not going to have another Anita Hill. We're not going to have another Dr. Blasey Ford, because we're all Anita Hill. We're all Dr. Blasey Ford.
Good afternoon, my friends, my siblings. My name is Mercedes Yvonne Lysaker. I am from New York City, the greatest city in the world. I've been reflecting on our system of representative democracy. There are hundreds and hundreds of millions in our country who are living with the right to vote, and there are only 100 U.S. senators to represent all of us. 100 people have the power to make this happen or make this stop. 100 people for the millions and millions and millions. The one thing that these millions have in common, the one thing that the senators have in common is we are all human beings. Human beings have tremendous capacity for love, for passion, for goodness, for beauty, for joy. But we also have capacity for evil, for ugliness, for hatred, for apathy, for sorrow, for rage. The U.S. senators who will be voting today have a choice. They can choose to support one of those capacities. They can choose to support the capacity for love, or they can choose to support the capacity for hatred. They can make a choice that is not just for life, that is not just for beauty, but for livelihood, for the right of every American to live a beautiful, meaningful life. They can make that choice, or they can make the choice for evil. They can make the choice for apathy, for darkness, for ugliness. 100 people have that choice. They know what the right choice is. Whether or not they move, whether or not the Spirit moves them to vote with the right choice, that's up to them, up to those 100 people. Thankfully, November is coming.
I'm really nervous. I'm here today for a lot of people. Like a lot of women that I know and love, I'm also a survivor. But I'm more than that. I'm an immigrant, I'm a Muslim, I'm a woman. Now I'm a law student here in Washington, D.C. Like many of us here, I think I've spent the last 2 weeks in some sort of a daze. I've been going through phases of feeling totally dysfunctional, and one of the only things that's given me strength is all of the amazing women in my life who have reached out to deepen our connections, and that's why I'm here. Really, I don't know what's going to happen. I have a pretty good feeling what's going to happen today, but at least we're all here together, building our connections with one another, building our community, validating each other, letting us know that there are people out there who believe in one another. We don't need to rely on these people in power. We have all of these beautiful people that we're standing next to, and I just want to say how deeply I love all of the brave women and survivors who have come here and censored themselves despite it being incredibly difficult and re-traumatizing, and I have so much endless love and compassion for everybody who's been unable to come forward, unable to come to something like this. I know how that feels. I didn't know if I would be able to come to this today, but I came. I didn't know if I would be able to speak, but now I'm speaking. And yeah, I'm ready to break down the wall of shame. I'm not ashamed to be who I am, and thank you everyone for being here.
No more secrets! No more lies! 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 No more secrets! No more lies!
No more secrets. Sorry. No, just, oh, no, don't push anything. Wait.
I didn't
Let
push
me
it.
unpush it. Oh, you didn't? Oh.
Yes.
You can't smile. Okay.
My wife is a survivor of 2 rapes and another sexual assault, but that's not why I came here. It happens to most women I know. Why I came here is because they say that this is a he said, she said. It is not. She has evidence, and she's provided it. In her testimony, Dr. Blasey Ford described the house that she was attacked in, not just the people who were there. Let me go through this. Dr. Blasey Ford testified she was attacked at a gathering that included Brett Kavanaugh, Judge, PJ Squee, and at least one more boy. She testified that Brett and Judge were drunk at this gathering. Brett Kavanaugh's calendar said for July 1st of '82 that he was at Timmy's with Judge, PJ, and Squee for beer. Brett Kavanaugh testified that Timmy was Tim Gaudette. The news articles have said that Tim Gaudette was living with his mother, Maureen Gaudette, in 1982. Montgomery County public documents at the courthouse say that Maureen Gaudette lived at 507 Azalea Drive, Rockville, Maryland in 1983. Dr. Ford testified the house in which she was attacked had no bathroom on the ground floor, so she had to go upstairs to get to the bathroom. Web real estate pages currently will state that 507 Azalea is a 2-story townhouse with only 1 bathroom. It doesn't state, but people who've been there have said the bathroom is upstairs. A news organization, Inside Edition, visited the house but found no one home. They were allowed to enter a similar house with the same floor plan, and they found a bedroom at the very top of the narrow stairs, which was opposite a bathroom. They have a video in there that shows the house, and it shows narrow walls opposite each other on the way down the stairway. And Dr. Ford said that Brett Kavanaugh and Judge were bouncing off the walls on the way down the stairs. This is a very accurate description of the house that Brett Kavanaugh's diary said he was in on that date with those people. When Dr. Ford testified to this, she had no knowledge of that he even had a calendar. She had no knowledge of where his calendar said they were. Yet she described in her testimony this exact house that he had mentioned that he had been with those people on that date. Now, I grew up in Montgomery County. I'm living in Montgomery County again in Chevy Chase, Maryland. In Chevy Chase, and when they had the maps, they said, oh, people living in Chevy Chase and Bethesda and Potomac. These are well-to-do or wealthy areas. Almost all the houses are single-family houses. They have bathrooms on the ground floor. They have bathrooms on a second floor. You don't have to go upstairs. But this house, it wasn't in Chevy Chase. It wasn't in Bethesda. It wasn't in Potomac. Timmy's house was in Rockville, Maryland, which is a poorer area, and it was a row house. You don't find those in the areas where they're showing where they show the houses during the hearings. But she was able to describe this house perfectly. It does not match the house of any of the other friends of Brett Kavanaugh that he listed on his calendar.
Thank you. This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
My name is Jason Drake, and I was sexually assaulted when I was 15 years old. And I'm here to ask every survivor, to ask everyone here, do we want a liar on our court? No! Do we want a rapist on our court? No! Do we want Brett fucking Kavanaugh on our court? No! But the people running our government don't see seem to know what no means. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to run these charlatans out of town? Are we going to find people who listen? Are we going to take our government back? And when we do that, what are we going to demand of that government? Are we going to demand that they protect immigrants? Are we going to demand that they protect women? Are we going to demand they protect and believe victims? And so, I say now to anyone running for office in November that if they want to earn my vote, if they want to deserve our vote, they have to commit not just to fighting Brett Kavanaugh now, but to try always to keep him off the court. Because this fight does not stop with the vote today. This is when it begins.
I didn't even have the volume all the way up.
Hello everyone, my name is Lachey. So the theme out here I've been hearing is no secrets, right?
Yeah.
Right? No secrets, right? All right, so it's no secret that this country was founded on violence, right? It's founded on sexual violence. So sexual violence is in the fabric of this country. Yes, so indigenous women and black women and women of color have always experienced sexual violence in the fabric of this country, right? So, with that being said, I am offended when we ask ourselves, how is it that we are here today when it has been embedded in the fabric of this country? So when we ask ourselves, how do we end this? We start believing survivors of violence, of all violence, of police violence, of emotional violence, of sexual violence, and we do not justify it. We do not justify it. We understand that it is our duty to fight for freedom. We say this, it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support one another. We must love and support one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and I first thank you for the platform, for a voice, since so often I have felt like I do not have one. I am a survivor, and I am here because of a conversation I had with my husband this morning when we were talking about Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation, and he asked me, we have 2 daughters, he asked me how we would explain something like this to our daughters. And I told him I had been thinking about not how we would explain his confirmation and things like this, but how we will deal with when they are assaulted, because it is a statistical probability that one of them will. We should not live in a country, no one, anywhere, not just this country, should live accepting the fact that it is a probability that their children will be assaulted. I did not fight when I was raped, but I will fucking fight now. We are told over and over again by the lenient sentencing or no sentencing for rapists, by the no prosecution, the no charges, and this group of 100 men and women who claim to represent us, who only represent their partisan bullshit, just told us one more time that we do not matter. Well, fuck that. We fucking matter, and we will fucking fight.
Jess McGuire, and I'm with Unite for Reproductive and Gender Equity. And in particular, as we create spaces to speak our truths and tell our stories, I want to personally invite those of you in the crowd who are LGBTQ people, who are queer and trans people, who are people of color and indigenous people to please come and tell your stories. This is your space too. We know that often when stories are shared, it is the privileged stories that have the opportunity to be told out loud. And I ask that all of us make space for all of our stories. All of our stories are credible. All of our stories, whatever our educational background, whatever our race, whatever language we speak, all of our stories should be believed.
We believe you.
Audre Lorde told us that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Let us remember that the White House was built by enslaved people. Let us remember that the White House, the Supreme Court, the halls of Congress, these are the master's houses. They were not created, these systems were never created so that queer people like me, so that women of color like me, so that those of us in this crowd who've never seen justice since this country's inception, these were not created for us to thrive. They were certainly not created to give us justice. And so I ask on this day, as we look beyond this vote, beyond the travesty that is being committed by a small group of angry white men against masses of people across this country who have spoken up and risen up, that our fight does not begin or end today. Our fight began generations ago as our ancestors have fought colonialism and enslavement and patriarchy. Our fight began generations ago and it will continue. And to all of you who have told your stories, it was not for nothing. It is with our stories and with the compassion and love that we share for each other every time those stories are told. That is how we will build justice. It will not be in the halls of Congress. It will be in the hearts and the minds of people across this country who are watching and who will watch as we carry this fight forward. We believe survivors. 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 Thank you. We believe
Hi, my name is Deb Thompson. I'm a therapist in Frederick, Maryland. I've never said this out loud since I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, my brother-in-law sexually assaulted me. And although my parents believed me, my brother told them. Nothing ever happened. And that brother-in-law continued to show up at Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I had to sit beside him and act like nothing had happened. And that 12-year-old did not have a voice. But as I almost come to my 60th birthday, I have found my voice. And I'm going to... I saw a photo online this morning. It was of a picture, I think NPR took, a photographer took this picture. And it was of a lady sitting with her head in her hands on a park bench. And he went up to ask her name. And she didn't answer. She just said, "How much longer? I've been doing this forever. I don't know if I have 30 more years to fight this." But I don't have to fight for another 30 years. There are a lot of people out there that are going to continue this fight. I have been triggered. I have worked with people that have been triggered. I have heard stories for the last few weeks. It doesn't end here. When they vote today, that's not the end. When I no longer can march or stand, that's not the end. You guys will take up the mantle and continue it forward. Thank you for the fight.
Oh, everybody. Are you just talking?
Hi, my name is Ruth. I just have a message for Brett Kavanaugh and for the GOP. What goes around comes around.
Yes.
Looks like there may be marching.
To the Capitol.
Did anyone else want to say something? You know what? When we get back over there,
we're breaking this up and moving more towards the house side of the Capitol.
There is actually a shelter.
Thank you. All day.
Shelter. I did you draw that? Thank you so much.
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Hey, Brett, we like here too. Thank you.
Lisa? Never mind. Set? Hey, Seth, I'm gonna have to change my battery.
Right. Hit me up again if you need.
Sounds good.